This video is sponsored by Third Wave Water. This is the DF83-V, and I think it is currently the best performing grinder under $1,000, especially before reaching that plateauing point of diminishing returns. Now, over a year ago, I reviewed the original DF83 V1, and it was my favorite grinder at that point and remains an excellent value grinder today. And in that year, the DF83 gained a second revision and now has this, the DF83-V, a new version of the DF83 that has been flipped on its side and now features a variable RPM. Starting with the build quality, this grinder takes a lot of the same great improvements found on the DF64 Gen 2, and for the most part, improves on them even more. The black anodized housing and components are all done very well with no blemishes or marks, the engraving on the dial is smooth and easy to read, and the dial itself moves very smoothly, albeit a little bit tight. Although this is somewhat adjustable with a set screw on the side of the dial, which is also used to disassemble the grinder for cleaning or swapping burrs. The grinder uses the same classic bellows system used on multiple DF grinders now, and the same tactile button on the side. Although this time around there are two buttons, one for turning the grinder on and off, and the other to actually start the grinder. And I gotta say, this on-off button is pretty ugly. Another thing to note is that when the grinder is on and idling, there's just a little noticeable high-pitched sound that's just constantly going. It's quiet, but annoying. Speaking of sound, the grinder is on the louder end, but because of the larger 83mm burrs, it runs through beans fairly quickly and isn't that big of a problem. The grinder features a dial on the left side with an LED display of the RPM anywhere from 300 to 1600. The display itself is bright, easy to read, and a stepped knob makes it easy and smooth to adjust the RPM. And magnets. Oh, do I love these magnets. The catch cup has an integrated magnet base, and even the little exit chute here also uses magnets. This makes it easy to clean the exit chute area easily. The last thing I want to mention here about the build quality is the dosing funnel, which makes this grinder look very much like a train. It's a very surprisingly well-built component with a chute that sits on the top opening with a set screw to hold it in place, although I found it not necessary to secure it. There's a second component, almost like an adapter, that allows the bellows itself to be set on top. With or without this piece, the lid does sit nicely on top. Now, this is a custom olive wood piece that was made for me by 5-ounce Design, but it's the same dimensions as the included walnut lid. I also don't think this grinder even really needs the bellows, as retention has been incredibly low, with bellows really only seemingly blowing out a little bit of fines. So you can make this grinder look a little less train-like by removing the upper funnel components altogether. And as much as I love this grinder, there is one thing that's going to improve your coffee even more than a good grinder, and that is with good water. I've been using Third Wave Water for years now as my preferred water solution. Simply add a packet of any one of the different coffee profiles from light to medium to dark into a gallon of distilled water, and you've got water designed both for flavor and to ensure that your equipment is staying clean and optimized over time. Whether you're using a fancy espresso machine, simple stovetop kettle, or anything in between, optimizing your coffee water is an easy way to really draw out the full potential of your coffee. You can use my link in the description down below and get 10% off when you sign up today. Once again, thanks to Third Wave Water for sponsoring this video. Okay, so getting into the performance, first with the espresso DLC burrs, and then with the brew DLC burrs. From my own experience running both medium roasts and lighter roasts, I found the burrs to perform very well. Largely, I would say that the performance has been pretty on par with the original DF83, with just enough separation of flavors for lighter roasts to have notes pull through, and most of my original thoughts with the original DF83 hold true here with clear, vibrant cups of coffee with the brew burrs and full-bodied, rich, and textural espressos with the espresso burrs. I found the espresso burrs to perform good enough for filter, and if I had to choose one set of burrs, it would be that one. But the filter burrs on its own really draws out the clarity and nuance that I think if you're choosing a larger burr set like this, is something that you're going to be after. They've taken what the original DF83 did so well, added variable speed control and a new design, and I think it works really well. So, would I recommend it? Yeah, this is a very solid grinder, but suffers a similar problem as the Niche Duo when I originally reviewed that. And that it's a really pick one or the other kind of grinder, at least with the two sets of burrs that I tried. You can have excellent espressos or excellent filter brews, but not both, at least not with a single burr set. You can get good results with both using the espresso DLC burrs, but you're getting much better performance out of those brew DLC burrs by comparison. Turin and the manufacturer behind the brand is showing no signs of slowing down, from the DF64 to the 83 and the newly announced 54, and while it's understandable that some may have some quality concerns or products primarily designed and manufactured from China and sold under white labeled brands, I can personally say that I have had very few problems with these grinders to date. I think at this point it's all about value and how much you're willing to spend. But I feel like you really can't go wrong with any of the DF grinders, from the more budget-friendly DF64 Gen 2 to the 83, and most likely with the 54 as well. It's good to see that they're taking feedback from their audience and customers and continually choose to improve their products. So that's going to be my thoughts on the new DF83-V. Once again, thanks to Third Wave Water for sponsoring this video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.